if you were to judge me from where I was coming from to where I am today, you would have probably ruled me out. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Lydia, and welcome to my show. Today, we'll be talking about money. And this is an interesting topic that I decided that will be our first topic because in most Black households, we don't talk about money. And the question is why? Now, when I was little, growing up, in my household, we just saw our parents spending. And then if we asked for something for Christmas or whatever it is, they would do whatever it took to help us to get it. But I knew they would have had some form of problems when it comes to money because I would see my mom and dad arguing about something in like the weirdest places, but they will try to do it secretively so that we wouldn't know that they were arguing until it becomes a huge issue. Now, I brought this up too because in most marriages or most relationship fails, 50% of the time because of financial discrepancies or because of financial issues. So I was thinking then we need to talk more about it. Let's have an open conversation. So for me, growing older or becoming an adult, I decided that this would be a topic that I have a discussion with my children about. It's not going to be where, oh my goodness, it's just only about the bills. It's about everything. If I was buying something, I wanted to talk to my kids. I wanted to talk to my significant other. The reason is not because so much that I needed their validation in getting it. It's just that hearing someone else's feedback as to why, I would know, like, could I afford it? Is it a smart decision? I could hear the thoughts back into my head, and then I could actually make a conscious decision. Now, for me, I'm asking, like, why don't most families do this? And it all boils down to, well, I also think back to when I was younger. Like, we used to go to church all the time, and then you hear pastor or our church, they used to talk about money is the root of all evil, and all these jargons that became a staple within our lives that made money such a distant, dirty thing, even though we needed it in our lives, you know? And again, for me, I decided to change it because if we don't change the cycle, it would just continue. On that note, how come money's the root of all evil and we always gotta... Anyways, that's something else. Another reason why I think that we don't talk about money within our families or in our household, it could be because we ourselves are making bad decisions, bad money management decisions. We're not even considering the overall well-being of the household or the future for our children. You know what I mean? A lot of us are only spending for instant gratification. We're spending for right now. Or we're trying to keep up with the Joneses. For instance, we see a nice jewelry or a car or the neighbors got it. We want to be able to go out and get it too. And if we had truly thought it through, we would probably spend or saved that money or invested that car money, that depreciative item, into creating something or investing something for your children's future. I know the spoon fell. My daughter made me some tea because, you know, my voice is going out. So hold on a second while I take a sip. I'll give you the next point in just a moment. All right, here I am. You know, another thought when I was talking about this topic, and I was asking, like, why don't people talk about money in their household? The other thought that came to mind is that maybe they have too little to even discuss. Now, that's probably true. But guess what? Even if you haven't discussed, there's this really great book that I read that really still today had this significant impact on my life. It's The Richest Man in Babylon. And it boils down, what it boils down to is that it itemized out, like for instance, if you have 100% of your income and you take 10% and you save 10%, you won't even miss it out of your paycheck, right? And so if we had these discussions and we took that 10% in paying ourselves and paying our families instead of paying bills and taking care of everything else first, guess what? We will have money to always invest and plan for our future. Over time, we will have enough. We would have invested for a future and we'll be okay. Also, another game that I love to play with my children, and I wanted to share with you, is called Cash Flow by Robert Kiyosaki. In there, it started out where you get to pick a career, and essentially it's teaching you how to get out of the rat race. Now, what's interesting with that is that it doesn't matter if your job is a janitor or a business manager, a teacher, a lawyer, a doctor, or it doesn't matter. You have the ability from making better financial decisions to get out of the rat race, to have the life that you've always wanted, to live your dreams, to be able to really put your kids through college if that's what you want, to be able to invest in buying them homes or whatever you decide. But the best part is that the habits and the lessons that you're teaching your children, it will in turn change the next generation. And I think for me and for everybody else, that's truly what we want to do. So the thought that it's not enough, even though it's not enough today, if you were to save just a little bit every single time, and I love doing the math. I'm going to grab my phone a little bit, and this is where another thing, when I start breaking these lessons down for you about compounding effect, how it works, right? But say that you can save $100 a week. $100 a week times 52 weeks, it's already $5,200. If in turns, and you still don't touch that, after 5 years, you'll have $26,000. Now, if you had did that 5 years ago, today is 2023, 2018, $26,000 would be a good start for you to invest in a business or even buy a property. I mean, it's endless what you could really do to have that start for yourself with only $100 a day. And see, most of us aren't even thinking about it like that. We're like, well, we make too little. $100 a week, yes, on $100 a week. But what we're saying is that we're making too little. And of course, if you're making a whole lot more, why not invest more into your future selves, into your future families, into what it is that you want to change in where you are now? Because in truth, these are great nuggets, great seeds that you're planting that will bear you fruits for long term. Do you know what's so funny? That a lot of people see me and they'll say to me, well, what do you do? Or what businesses do you have? You know, and why don't I have a job? And I smile all the time because I say that I love the idea from the richest man in Babylon will tell you, you've got to make money your slave. And don't eat your children of your slaves. That's what you should do. Go out, create investments. Whenever you get the return, don't have parties. Don't spend it off with instant gratification or entertainment. Go ahead and reinvest that money, and it will continue to bring you more money and change your financial future. Because again, on $100 a week, in 5 years, you could be at $26,000. And I am sure, I am absolutely positive that $100 a week, if you look back at it, you could have probably not eaten out once or twice, you know, if you pack a couple of lunches. I mean, there's so many different ways to do this. All right. Another one of the points that I got when I was talking about this topic is that maybe we are embarrassed about how much we make and we don't want to really expose ourselves. Now, let me tell you something. In talking about money, there's nothing embarrassing about that, because when you talk to people, then you know who can help you, who it is that may have an idea, who you can sit around and have conversations, and you guys will probably be able to invest together. This sometimes I always tell my children is that you are an average of your friends, the people that you hang around with, the people with your income level, the people with the lifestyle that you want. You are an average of all of them. Now, people that are growing and that are making money together, look, if you're in college, guess what? All your college buddies are hanging out together. Like attract like. So if you're trying to get someplace, money should be the topic. If you want to be a millionaire, my goodness, consistently ask, like, what ideas that we could invest in together? What ideas that we could develop and be honest and ethical about, where we could create the greatest impact on the world? And those are the things that I think to myself that will help you regardless. And there's nothing to be embarrassed about where you are. You can judge me. Listen, I'm standing in front of you. I'm sitting in front of you today. But if you were to judge me from where I was coming from to where I am today, you would have probably ruled me out. Let me tell you, I was born in Jamaica. I used to walk 3 miles to school. 3 miles. I used to have blisters on my feet. I was brought up with no electricity, no internet, no television. In truth, my dad couldn't read. My parents barely had an education. So if you were to judge me from where I was or where I was born into my house without electricity, without running water. And so if you were to judge me on those, you would never foresee where I am today. But those are the things that made me who I am, that have given me the drive, have given me the tenacity to come to America, to really work hard and become, so again, there's no reason to be embarrassed, because the best things, the best diamonds really are made from all the pressure and everything that's put on them. So that's what I think about that. So there's no need to be embarrassed about it. Talk about money, see where you are, see where your financial future could be within 5 years, because nothing changed overnight. I mean, it will take time, it will take consistency, it will take planning, it will take dedication, really, and sacrifice. But one thing is for certain, if you follow this by even just talking about money and start implementing new plans or saving back or cutting back, your next generation or your next future, the next few years for you will be incredible. Another story I'll tell you really quickly is that back in 2012, I started to read a lot. I started understanding a lot more. And so what happened was, with me and my kids, we decided that we were going to live, in one of the books we heard, Sparta over luxury. And so we decided that we were going to do Spartan over luxury in everything that we've done. And we cooked all the time. I don't know, we lived up where it was cold. We didn't even have a refrigerator for a while. And on all of that great stuff. And then using all of that to catapult to where we are now by understanding, like, nothing we bought for the children or we bought for ourselves that didn't involve investing in our future selves, right? And so just those are some of the gems of things that we did because we wanted to delay gratification, and Spartan over luxury helped us to do that. All right. So another idea says that is lack openness. I know. It's always tough to get out of your comfort zone, and especially if it's something that you're not used to, most people are, okay, well, the man is the head of the household. It's like, why do I need to have these discussions with my children or maybe the significant other? Because, of course, we all maybe separate responsibility, right? But the separation of the responsibility, there's actually something else I'll talk about, that is where we separate, well, the man takes care of the money and the women don't really know exactly what's happening. What happens with that is, what happens if something were to happen to him? Say, accident happened, he's no longer here with us. Then you yourself, as a woman with the children, you've got no idea of what's going on, right? You don't want to be left in a situation like that. And or, of course, I don't know, let's get far-fetched that he has another family someplace doing something crazy. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you've got no idea of what's happening. But with the openness is that for me, I think to myself is that every single thing, I wanted it to be a lesson, not just for me, because I am learning every single day, right? And I thought that as a family, we should be growing and learning, but I wanted it to be more of a lesson for the children, because guess what? This is a great way for them to have an example, whether I did right or wrong. I'd like to share it with them. Whether my investment worked out or not, I'd like to share it with them. Because guess what? If I don't share it with them, chances are they'll be making the exact same mistake. And who will it hurt in the long run? Me, us, right? And so this openness that I have instilled within my household, I'm thinking it's about changing the generational behavior. I think it is beneficial if we in turn, I don't know, just do the same, right? Because it's not just that we're sharing what we're spending on, we're also teaching them to stay away from bad habits. Not because you see something means that you need to get it right away. One of the discussions that I've developed this really good financial planning with my kids as they were growing up. And I say to them, well, by the time they were 16, we'll give them access to a certain amount of money. And at 16 years old, the reason is because at 16, we could give them until about 18 years old to be able to make really good financial decisions. And not only that, now they're pretty much under my umbrella. I can guide them a little bit more because, we're here to facilitate our children through this life. And so I see them as little grown-ups. All right. So what happens is they wouldn't go wild and crazy and start spending. Now, the reason I decided to implement that plan is because once a friend of mine told me that his parents had given him a card when he was 18 years old. He was going off to college. And it had a $10,000 limit. And they told him that, hey, $10,000 is only for emergency purposes. Now, for him, without going through a simulation of what an emergency is, for him, he thought to himself that buying something like baseball cards were emergency. What was an emergency? So he bought $10,000 worth. It's at that time, I think to myself that that's an important lesson. So if I use that and go a little bit earlier and was able to do something like that for my children at 16, right? Now I have 2 years to teach them better. So if my child was to come to me and say, hey, Mom, I saw this pair of shoes that I'd like to buy. My question would be, why? Why do you need it? How will you pay for it? Because everything you've got to sacrifice something to be able to get something, right? What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you doing to think that you deserve this? And I think to myself, that is a really good way or really good example. Another really great thing that happened to me when I was really young, and I think to myself that God has really put in my life people with really good financial nuggets that have poured into me, that have helped me to choose this path that I am on, that I am helping you, hopefully, is that when I was probably about 15, 16 years old, I used to babysit. When I used to babysit, I used to come home and I didn't have a bank account at the time. And my sister suggested that I'd given her boyfriend my money to hold for me. Now, she suggested him because he was great with money and everything. But honestly, that held true. Now, in truth, you have to actually know who it is that you're giving your money to hold. Okay, that's another topic, but that's what it is. And I used to give him my money, and he used to have this really little safe, and he used to write on it. So I would have a slip. He would treat me just like the bank, and he would put the money in a little fold and he would lock it away or whatever. So what was interesting to me now, so I go back probably a month or two and I'm like, hey, can I have $50 out of my money? And then he sat me down and he asked me a full list survey. Why did I need it? And is it necessary that I got it? Listen, by the time I was done answering those questions to myself, I'm like, I don't even need it. What do I need this money for? Like, I had everything that I needed here. It was more of a want, not a need. It wasn't a necessity. And I didn't bother with money. One, because I didn't even want to do the aggravation. Two, but I am saying to you is that if we all develop something of this magnitude within our households, it would help us to be open, to be honest, teach our children about money, and let it be easy for all of us to be able to talk about money, to understand the functions of money, so that we don't see things or hear things or the market, everything is happening and we're wondering what's happening. We would be more in tune, and this way we could change the next generation. Another thing that we talked about, and we've touched on it a little bit, is accountability. We need to be accountable to ourselves and to the people around us, because, as parents, what we're doing a lot of times is not for us. We are creating value to this world that we're in. We're planting seeds in our children, and our hope, I know that, my hope is that for the next generation, they're a little bit better, right? And I have read someplace that, in a lot of other households or a lot of economic or socioeconomic levels, money is an open topic. There's no secrecy. There's no, why this or no. Oh, don't shut up. Don't ask about this. It's a conversation, because sooner or later, these little people that we've got, they'll be the one to run the world. So for me, there's no secrecy about money. They hold me accountable as I would hold them accountable, because if it's something that they wanted to purchase, or if I want to purchase, I know, there's also times that I probably would just buy things just to reward myself. But those times are far and in between. So it's not that you can't treat yourself, right? It's just that shouldn't be the first thing that you do. And for most people, for the average household, that's exactly what they do. And then they wonder why we can't really get out of the rut that we're in, why we can't really change the world, or why can't we be better people, society, why can't we afford certain things, right? Those are the reasons why. All right, so for me, in wrapping up, I am going to tell you it is extremely important, and it will be beneficial to everybody, not just for you, for your future selves, for your families, if we all talk about money. Money should be an open topic. This will help you to create plans, to help you have a better future for where it is you're going. Just like how most of us plan for a vacation. Trust me, if it was about a vacation or a party that you had to go to, or maybe a sweet 16, I'm sure you'll be budgeting on where or what. Oh, wait, the prom is coming up. Or if it's a homecoming thing, most people would continually itemize and make sure that happens. Parents ourselves, we do it. We stretch ourselves thin to be able to make sure our kids have. But if they really understand what it is that we're doing, why we're doing it for them, and, the effect that it has on us, one, it would help us to reduce a lot of stress. Because guess what? If your child or if your significant other understand what's happening, and everybody is open and honest with what's happening, one, there'll be less stress on you. A lot of us are dying because of poor health, because we're putting too much pressure on ourselves. So those are just some of the gems of why we all should talk about money. I hope this segment was helpful to you. And listen, if you can think of any other things that I may not have touched within this segment of why we should talk about money, why don't we talk about money as a community, please feel free to share with me. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And I am available for any questions that you may have. Thank you so much for joining me. See you next time on the Dr. Lydia Show.